Hey, it's Chuck. I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is, Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country. And welcome into Juck on Bucks live on a Sunday morning. Don't usually do this on a Sunday morning, but I felt like last night at the post-game show, I don't know, I didn't really get to process my full thoughts on the game, everything that went down. Had Chris and Ron on with me, and they actually, I don't know, kind of got a little bit of an argument, and it went on maybe a little longer than I wanted it to, or they wanted it to, but, you know, you get grumpy after a loss like that. You kind of dig your heels in on whatever your arguments are. Good morning to my friends in the chat. What's up, Fisherman? How you doing, buddy? Amazon says I don't know if he's talking to all of us Ohio State fans, or me in particular, owing Autzen Stadium an apology. I don't think I ever said anything bad about Autzen Stadium. I simply said that if Ohio State can play in Penn State, they can play in Autzen Stadium. And you know, props to Autzen Stadium, who I think absolutely took a possession from Ohio State. They absolutely took a possession from Ohio State where Ohio State had 2 consecutive false starts and then another false start on a penalty, and it wiped an entire possession out. And that is obviously huge in a game like this. Absolutely huge. So props to Autzen Stadium. Props to the Ohio State graduate who designed the stadium, right? Because it is all about the design and the passion of the fans. Though I will say, I saw a lot of pictures and talked to a lot of Oregon folks who said there were a ton of Buckeye fans. Shane, good morning, buddy. Shane, still here in Eugene. Was a weird vibe all game. This one stings. We'll be back, though. Oh, man. Does it ever sting? It really does. Ryan Day's beard. The season isn't over. Learn from it. Get better and go finish the right way. And today I just want to talk about, maybe a little bit of wrap up of the bad stuff and then where we think they will go to get better, to play better. Fisherman says, I just feel sick for Simmons. He was playing great this year. It is gut-wrenching. Obviously gut-wrenching for him, and he was working his way. I think he had strongly cemented himself into the second round and was really seemed to be like gunning for this guy might be a first round pick, which is tremendous. And to go out like that on an absolute, non-contact injury, and then Ryan Day immediately saying after the game, and I don't know if you guys have gotten any updates. I haven't even been on any kind of media today, but Ryan Day saying that in the post-game press conference is almost confirmation that it's really bad and probably out for the rest of the year, which puts the defense or the offensive line in a terrible spot. It was the one position that you could not afford to lose anybody. Mika, good morning, Mika. The season is not over. Hats off to the Ducks. Hope to see them again. And honestly, hats off to them. I think that, and we talked about this on Friday, you guys heard it before the game. Almost everybody picked Ohio State. And the reason that they picked Ohio State, and that was a change. Early on in the season, in the offseason, most people thought Ohio State might go out there and lose a game like this in a very, very close game, and that it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be a huge deal. It would be, kind of par for the course. And the only reason that everybody's opinions changed is because of the first couple of games that Oregon played where they looked lackluster and where they dropped down in the rankings despite losing. And everybody thought, okay, they're just not who we thought they were. I think last night they showed that they really are who a lot of people thought they were in the offseason. They were tremendous, and Ohio State helped them get there in a couple of ways. But good morning, Jer. How we doing, buddy? Good morning, Deetra. I want to thank Jer, guys. This is a gift from Jer. Remember Jer? This is amazing. Look at this. This came in the mail the other day. This is a a Juck on Bucks wrestling belt or boxing belt, whatever you want to call it. Maybe wrestling. I'll go with boxing. I like boxing better than wrestling, but it's amazing. It's heavy. It's like 20 pounds. But just wanted to come on, lay out a couple of thoughts, get the feeling of how you guys are feeling. Terry, overall, it was an exciting game, and the best team won. The D let us down. Oregon was the better team last night. There's no way around it. There's no excuses I'm going to make about it. That's absolutely the case. Ryan, did anyone feel like we just didn't play our game? Everything we did the whole first quarter of the season wasn't on display. Where was our end arounds and heavy runs? It did feel like, we came out in the first quarter passing quite a bit. Right off the rip, we saw a couple of screens, which was just like, yeah, not so sure this is what I wanted to see. But yeah, I agree with you there. Buckeye Lion, our fans need to calm down. We lost to the number 3 team by a point. Now they want to fire everyone and kick players off the team. We'll grow from this and be better. This is how it's going to be for a couple of days. And unfortunately, you got a bye week. So there's nothing to talk about but this game. It's not like you can just move on to Iowa or Nebraska right away. And I'll tell you what, and this, I'm a little irritated by this. This was scheduled ahead of time that there would be no media access from the coaching staff during this bye week. And I honestly just feel like you have to have your normal Tuesday press conference, because you talked last night, Ryan Day for 7 minutes, Jim Knowles for 3, Chip Kelly for 3. And when you don't get up there and face the music on Tuesday, all the arrows point to your players. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. Not that some of those players don't deserve a lot of blame, some do. But, the coach has got to get up and get in front of this, in my opinion. Emily, good morning. Emily's just said, can't deal with the skies falling. It's too much for me. Sky's not falling, guys. Everything right out in front of them. You just got to diagnose the issues. Do you have the talent on the team to diagnose the issues and make the appropriate changes? But you certainly had some issues. The biggest issue is, there's a couple on defense, right? One of the keys to the game was getting pressure with 4 for the Ohio State Buckeyes. You had to get pressure with 4. Obviously, they could not get any pressure with 4. We saw Jack and JT go up against 2 NFL tackles, and against 2 NFL tackles, Jack and JT looked okay. They were okay. They were solid. They played the run game pretty damn well, but as far as getting the pressure that was needed, they couldn't do it. Obviously, the defense was not blitzing a lot, and we saw Dylan had way too much time to throw, and having that time to throw really exposed some things in the secondary, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Denzel was terrible, and I almost feel bad for him because it almost felt like, I don't know, did it get in his head after a couple of those? I feel like you really had to pull him out of there and put Jermaine in. I mean, it's not like you don't have a competent backup. A lot of people think Jermaine's the best cover corner on the team. I'm one of those people. Whether he is or he isn't, it certainly seemed like to me it was in his head. So certainly some defensive issues to talk about. I think that Jim Knowles, who got up in his press conference, said, we need to coach better. We need to coach better. Yes, you do. Specifically, you need to manufacture pressure if you can't get it with your front 4. You cannot give a guy like that all that time. I don't know why this wasn't addressed sooner. They did start sending a couple blitzes in the second half. They didn't get home. But you got to blitz more. You got to be more aggressive. You got to be more creative with your pressures, because if you don't, you're just going to give a guy like that in the future a 100% chance to beat you downfield. At least if you're sending pressure, which, you're taking some more risk on the back end, at least you got a shot at getting to him or hitting him and disrupting him and getting him off his game. And Jim Knowles used to be like this. He used to be a guy that was like that. And now he seems incredibly risk adverse to that. And you can play that way when you've got lockdown corners. I think we saw last night that when you're going against NFL wide receivers, and let's also keep in mind, those are the best wide receivers Ohio State's going to face again this year at any point. And the game plan may be different versus somebody else that doesn't have quite that kind of talent. Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson, those are amazing, and the Bucks didn't even have to go against Trayshawn Holden because IGB got under his skin so much he caused him to spit on him. And props to IGB, man. That dude'll do it. People like that. I've seen some clips from practice that he gets under JJ's skin more than anybody else. On the offensive side of the ball, did that team play championship level offense? I think they did. When you look at the team scoring 31 points, if we had finished that game and come out of that game and the score of the game was 31-24, how do we feel about the offense at that point? Last night, Chris and Ron argued about Will Howard. To me, Will Howard has a ceiling, and I know what it is. And I think to that ceiling, Will Howard played a 9 out of 10 on that ceiling. Really, really good. Not getting into the very last series of the game yet, but up until that point, he played to his capacity. Like, he was so good to me, and he did everything that he needed to do to lead that offense to score. And keep in mind, you lost 3 possessions. That offense lost 3 possessions. You lost the possession from the crowd noise, where you had false start on the punt. Total lost possession. You lost another one on the Derek Harmon play where he stripped Quinshawn, which was just a tremendous play. I mean, tremendous play, right? And then the onside kick, which Ryan Day said in the press conference that they had planned for. They threw out Caleb Downs on the hands team in that frumpy 48 jersey because he would have been the second number 2 on the receiving team. That was Caleb Downs in that jersey. And that kick was so perfectly placed. And, to be honest, there's a lot of luck involved with that it, when it's coming that fast, I don't know that your reaction time if Caleb Downs can't do it, I don't know who could, right? I don't know. But the point is they stole 3 possessions. If Ohio State gets one of those 3 possessions, do they score with one of those 3 possessions? And now we're talking 38 points. My point is 31 points needs to be enough to win the game. It needs to be, which turns you back to the defense. So, regarding the end of the game, Ryan Day is a coach who I said all offseason, the changes that I've seen him made, like, to me, as a fan, like, he gets 2 years of grace for me. Like 2 years of grace. Like, I'm not going to be someone who's going to, I don't believe in him anymore, calling for his job. But damn, man, at some point, when you put yourself in the CEO role, and I expect you to now flourish in clock management at the end of the game, in decision-making at the end of the game, because your nose is not buried in the play sheet. And this is what we get. Like, at some point, I'd be lying if I wasn't saying, like, all right, I'm starting to doubt if he's just not someone who can get it done in those moments, and I hate to feel like that. And maybe it's just today. I don't know. But it looked terrible to me. Everything was terrible. You let 7 seconds run off the clock, and it appeared that you did not know that the clock was running. I was not like Ron last night, who was really angry. You get yourself into 47-yard field goal range, right? And you throw the ball to JJ. I think the odds with Will Howard in that situation, turning the ball over, or the odds of JJ getting that penalty that's going to kick you back 15 yards are so low that, to me, like, I wasn't mad about it. Ron said you should have run the ball. But they did that against Georgia, and I was pissed off that you needed more yards. A 47-yarder for a college kicker in that moment, I mean, the odds are low. The odds are very low. So in that moment last night, I wanted more yards. So I can't have a double standard and be mad that happened and he didn't run the ball, and also be mad that they ran the ball against Georgia and didn't try to get more yards. It's one or the other. I've already dug my heels in on that side of the argument, so I can't change it now. It didn't go your way. As far as calling that penalty, I don't know, man. I think it's really weak. What's up, Shepard? How you doing? I think it's a really weak call. And I think it's a weak call because if you watch those guys battling all day, that it wasn't really something that I mean, did you see? First off, how often do you see offensive pass interference called anyway? That's not something I see. I don't know, maybe once every 7 or 8 games. In which case means it needs to be pretty egregious, and I didn't find that to be egregious. I just think JJ's way stronger than that guy, and that's probably a play we saw earlier on in the game when I watched the all 22. I'm going to try to find one that they didn't call because that's something that refs usually set the tone early on in the game. But I'm not going to whine about a call. I feel that 100% the Buckeyes threw an interception on the first series and totally got away with it. I think that was a pick off Will Kasmerik's chest. You may disagree, but I think that I was stunned that they didn't stop and review that. But moving on, I think you absolutely need to see. Does it feel to you like something is off with the defensive line room? Something's off with LJ's room. Something's off in the way he has full autonomy on the room. He recruits who he wants. He trains them how he wants. And, him, Jim Knowles, not always on the same page. Something needs to change with how these guys are getting to the quarterback or recruiting or something. When you look at the linebacker room, you look at Laurinaitis, you look at TJ Alford and Riley Pettijohn coming in the room, you look at Walt, you look at Devin Sanchez, and you look at Naeem, and who knows where that stands at this point. You look at Guerreri, Fahim Delane. You're not getting that same high-level talent coming in anymore on the defensive line. I love this defensive line class. I really do. But there are no Colin Simmons or Dylan Stewarts coming in. There isn't that high-end superstar edge rusher. You got Zahir Mathis and Ziggy Grady, who are, I think, going to be solid college football players, but they're not that guy. They're not that type of guy. So you got to be a really good coach. And a lot of people calling out Larry that you've got Jack, you've got JT, and this is your finished product. They're just not those type of guys, man. They're just not. They're all around guys. They're not screaming off the edge rushers that are going to get that kind of pressure. So where do you start? You know what I mean? For me, this is all on the defense. I think for one, you can definitely say that Jack Sawyer is not Missouri Jack. That's not who he is. Against NFL tackles, Jack and JT are just not those kind of guys. And that means you have got to manufacture pressure in other ways. You just have to. And I'm getting a little irritated of hearing Jim Knowles every Tuesday say about things that don't go quite so well. I got to coach better. You do. You had a crazy amount of missed tackles, 11 missed tackles, man. Leading the team in missed tackles, Cody Simon and Lathan Ransom. Two guys that I would have, going into the game. If you told me that, I'd say no way. Utmost confidence in those guys to get the job done. They didn't. And those are your senior leaders. But Denzel's performance, probably the most disappointing. But when you look at the totality of the game, of the season, everything's still right in front of him. Everything. The Big Ten, the bye week in the Big Ten, everything. And you lost a game by 1 in an incredibly tough place to play. That doesn't mean because everything's in front of them, they're going to get it figured out. But I think that there are enough pieces on the roster on the defense to get it figured out, to play well enough that it never looks like that again. It shouldn't ever look like that. So that's what I got, and that's my thoughts after sleeping on it for a day. Curious to hear what you guys think. Andrew Mueller does not have faith that Day has enough attention to detail. Mark says Arvell Reese did not. He played 4 snaps. I mean, you can call that some, but that's not some at all. Jermaine and Thurman both tweeted emojis last night. What kind of emojis, Emily? I know Jermaine Matthews is not happy. He knows he should have played. We know he should have played. Jelani Thurman, again, with like a 7-snap game, if that. It's clear at this point. I thought I was holding out hope that maybe because for the last 2 games, he hasn't really played at all. I thought that maybe Chip was holding something back for this game. It's clear that's not it. G played 55 snaps. Bennett Christian played 20 snaps. Patrick Gerd got in there over Jelani Thurman. So something he did something or is not doing something. Something's off. Something's off. And listen, Andrew, I'm telling you, I think that there's a chance that you may see more Patrick Gerd. To be quite honest with you. Oh, Jermaine was just angry faces. I hope Jermaine doesn't transfer either, but obviously you got a ways to go before that. I don't think he would be somebody who would do that in the middle of the season, just sit it out. Amazon, a Duck fan. Also, I got to say, I tried to be a good host to OSU fans pregame, but every single one I interacted with was kind of an uppity jerk. Sorry about that, man. I think you can see from the chat here and from interacting with me, we're definitely not all like that. But I will say that I have been to big games. If you go to a Notre Dame big game, there are some fan bases where the upper crust that can afford to travel to very expensive games are don't really represent most of the fan base, in my opinion. Not saying that's the case with Ohio State, but maybe you encountered some of that. Dan Lanning has done some kind of onside kick against Chip Kelly twice now. Did not know that. Jackie says our defense just doesn't have that dog in them, starting with Sawyer and JT. And I can't argue it. I cannot argue it. You've had plenty of defenses at Ohio State with not anywhere near this collection of talent that played with that dog. Bambino says Will Howard played great, but he has at least one boneheaded play a game. Him and Ryan, whatever happened at the end of the game is inexcusable. He should know how much time is left. And I'll go even further. You got the communication in your ear now. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be reminding him before every snap, like, listen, here's the scenario. Ball's got to come out of your hand immediately, or it's a shot to the end zone, or you're getting down immediately. Like, you cannot run out the clock, dude. That's the one thing you can't do, and that's what happened. Rick says, we brought Will Howard here because he was an experienced quarterback, and he would help us in late game situations, which he didn't. He fell down, took a loss of 10, and slid to run out the clock. Pedro says, aren't you supposed to steal possessions? Yes, I wasn't knocking them. They did a good job. Am I just far behind here? Oh, I guess I am a little far behind. Yes, I did say that. Oh, so Fisherman says Will Kaz broke his arm. I had heard that last night. I didn't know that was confirmed. I've been avoiding my timeline like the plague this morning. Got a lot of people who would like a word with me over my predictions and words for the last week. And I'll get to them all. Hey, man, I'll face the music, unlike the Ohio State coaching staff who won't go on Tuesday to their press conference. Woody says Will Howard definitely banged up at the end. Could have ran the ball more with him if he was healthy. Frosty Mug, Oregon fan. Love Juck, and Ohio State has a great team. Thanks, Frosty. Definitely a better defense than they showed last night. And Oregon, a great team as well. Rick says Will Howard had 13 yards on 9 carries. You don't want to give that guy more touches. You have Trey and Judkins, for crying out loud. Yeah, Terry is with me with Burke getting burnt so many times, and I feel in his head a little bit. Very surprising that Jermaine Matthews wasn't tossed in at least for a series. Hey, Ron. The lower crust the lower crust tastes better anyway, says Ron. That's true. There's definitely that section of the Ohio State fan base that I've dealt while traveling to big games with. And you got that in every fan base. You got the folks who are just a little bit above it all. Jordan is worried that Drew Aller will have a day to throw and dice up the secondary. And Drew, not super elusive like Dylan Gabriel. And Dylan Gabriel is a good athlete. He's not a great athlete, but Drew's a pretty good athlete, and he's hard to bring down as well. So, they're going to have to bring some heat on him. And to be quite honest, man, you might have to against Dylan Raiola next week too. Like Dylan Raiola, also tough to bring down and a pretty solid athlete. So you got a game coming up, man, in a couple of weeks, and we've got quite a bit of time to lament on this thing. And of course, we'll be here at 9:30 tomorrow, and every day this week. We'll be here to talk about this game for sure. And then come Friday, that's it. It's over, and we're moving on because this season is far from over. It's halfway through. You got one loss in a season where I don't know about you guys, but still with that defensive performance last night, I look at the other competitors here, and outside of Oregon and Texas, I still think that same performance that the Buckeyes put on last night, beats everybody else. I just do. Oregon and Texas, I think you come up a little bit short. But then again, you played Oregon on their field. What happens if that game is at a neutral field? I don't know. I really don't. And the best thing is you can learn more from a loss than you can from a win. So, Jim Knowles needs to make some changes. That's my biggest takeaway. You absolutely need to find a way to manufacture pressure. You need to take more chances. And the entire coaching staff, well, the head coach and the coordinators need to take accountability and keep some of this pressure off of their team by getting their asses up in front of the microphone on Tuesday and answering some questions as to what happened. Because 3 minutes at the end of the game just doesn't cut it. So that's my thoughts on that. Amazon will admit going into the game, he actually agreed with my predictions. He wasn't confident about Oregon and stayed quiet before the game, just as surprised as I am. Jackie thinks the third down defense needs some help. Absolutely. Mika thinks we beat ourselves. I think that is a bit of a. I think when you say that, you are discrediting your opponent, and I thought the opponent played great. So I don't really like when I heard Will said that last night, and it almost to me like I can't stand it when Ohio State beats someone and like we beat ourselves. Nah, the Buckeyes beat you, so I'm going to give Oregon that same respect and say, yeah, they beat Ohio State, but I understand where you're coming from. The real one thinks Larry Johnson needs to hang it up after this season, or Day needs to let him go. The defensive line is soft as hell, and I'm past the point where I can argue that one anymore. So, is what it is, guys. So, oh wow, Michigan just got a fung bomb for 5-star tackle Andrew Babalola from Kansas, a guy that we did not even offer. Unbelievable. J-Fo, glad you guys had a great night, man. It was honestly, I think, one of many future amazing matchups between Ohio State and Oregon that we're going to see in the future. And to be honest, we've been starved for big games like that during the regular season. We're just not used to the proper way of dealing with them yet when your season's not over. We're usually waking up on a Sunday like this after a loss like that. During this portion of the season, It's usually a big upset, right? It's a Purdue, it's an Iowa, it's a Michigan State, and our season's over, right? As far as the ultimate goal of the national championship, it's devastating news. So just kind of learning how to process this one where not just is the national championship still in play, the Big Ten championship and the bye week is still in play. Everything is still there. And that is how this new system is. And we're talking we're talking like it's doom and gloom. It's not, but it is if they don't get some things fixed here. And I honestly believe that they have the pieces to do it. Will they have the wherewithal to do it? Change is difficult, but some serious changes need made on that defense. Serious. Amazon thinks this needs to be the Big Ten championship game. I'd hate to see another team sneak in somehow. Funky Monkey does not believe that Oregon could beat Ohio State twice. So, all right, my friends, I am off to the rest of the Sunday. I hope if you guys enjoy the NFL, you enjoy your NFL games today. I'm out on the NFL this year. I've only got time for college football, and that's the it's not so bad for me, to be honest, because the Browns are just horrific. I got to read one more. I'm not gonna lie, I like Saban, but he's sounding more like Paul Feinbaum each week. Um, I have not watched game day in forever. I only catch little clips here and there on Twitter. I just don't like the show anymore. Haven't for a long time. But I have not seen what you're referring to. I'm sure I'll catch something on my timeline that'll give me an idea. Ken's still making his way home. Hasn't slept yet, man. Good luck, buddy. Hope you get home safe. Matt not happy with our D line. Yeah, Buckeyes got to win out. Won't be easy. The Penn State game won't be easy. The Nebraska game might be a hell of a challenge. We'll see. So, all right, my friends, I will talk to you tomorrow. I will be back at it at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and we will wrap up the rest of the weekend's games and also discuss with Chris the Buckeyes after we've both had a couple of days to think on things, and we'll get right back at it then, because that's all you can do. So talk to you guys then. Check on Bucks out.